Today, I am joined by Lawrence Jackson, Kyle Dvorchak, and Denny Carter, and we're going to be talking buy and sell on these training camp narratives. We are just flooded with news. Our news shifts have actually gotten a little busy here, guys. Lots of stuff as training camps kicked off, but not all of it is going to ultimately look like stuff we should have been paying attention to once it's all said and done. So I want to get your guys' thoughts on what one of these 9 narratives that I've selected here, which ones we should actually be paying attention to. But how you guys doing?
Doing good. It is weird to not just be able to like fire off best ball drafts during news shifts, because like in the middle of June, like sometimes you pitch a no blurb, but you don't write a single blurb.
Yeah,
it's June, of course. It's June. Just running backs and wide receivers and quarterbacks and all the guys are at home with their families, and that's what I'd like to be doing. But instead, it's like Sunday at 3:00, and I'm just refreshing Twitter, like, please give me anything. Tell me a long snapper was signed, and nothing. And now it is just this bombardment, this fire hose of news that, like you said, some of it is totally going to be turn out to be garbage. And it's sort of our job, both on the site and on the pod, to, at least try and directionally find which ones are garbage and which ones are good.
I can hardly watch golf anymore. What the heck?
You poor thing.
You poor guy.
I'm trying to watch some European golf where I've never heard of, who I have DFS interest in, and I got a blurb. It's not right, but it definitely is heating up.
'Tis the season, fellas. It is football season. Training camp. We got the we got the one play hype videos coming out now. We could actually come out with the all training camp day one fantasy lineup.
Oh, I like that idea,
dude. That's actually a good idea. The all training.
Who we get? Saquon in there, Kadarius Toney. Right,
Wan'Dale. It's not basically the Giants.
Yeah, it has to also be the
Michael
running backs
Thomas.
who get slot snaps, though. Yeah, Michael Thomas for just being alive is like
right,
all
just
day
for being there. You know what I'm saying?
Tony Pollard, but he plays receiver because that's what he's doing in training camp. Is a great one.
Yeah, man. So like you, Denny, you won't be able to watch golf. I won't be able to watch the old Summer Slams on the WWE Network, but it's all good because we got football back now.
But I still am able to use the NBC Sports Edge golf tools to make lineups. So I do appreciate those, and nothing can knock me too far away from those.
Well, you don't even need to watch the golf because you got such good tools.
I'd probably be better if I just stopped watching. I actually think
you're preaching to the choir, brother. I love it.
All right, well, we can kick things off with some actual news. A real thing happened. Julio Jones was signed to a physical contract that he put pen down on. It's not just speculation and beat reports about what might happen. Julio Jones does now play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but how fantasy relevant is he actually, Kyle? Are you buying into him? Some people have kind of made the case of this guy now is like a 9th, 10th round value, but it's a lot to parse because Chris Godwin is eventually going to be healthy. Russell Gage was signed as well. So how much value does Julio Jones actually have?
I am going to be taking, it's difficult because in some best ball tournaments, are you really going to buy the guy who just his ADP completely soars up and you're just playing the same teams but worse because a lot of people, and me, it was me taking Julio Jones in the 18th round. I got him. So do I really want to keep taking him? But in any league that is not, I know you and I are both, I think we were even in drafts where you took him in front of me and I didn't like it. But in any non-tournament format, in your home leagues, I will absolutely be hammering him because people it blows my mind that the best receiver, maybe the best receiver in the league up until 2.5 years ago, is now playing on the best passing offense in the league. And people are like, yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's still got a little bit of something left in the tank. He could be my wide receiver 5. I don't think people realize how good Julio Jones was just 1 year ago. Not last year, the year before that was 7th in receiving yards per game. The year before that was 3rd in receiving yards per game. Sure, I totally admit, you're drawing dead to get 17 games from him because that's just what Julio does. That's what he's always done. He's not going to be expensive enough to where 14 games is a complete killer if that's what you get from him. But he is almost certainly, at least he's only one bad season removed from being just a truly dominant elite receiver in the games he was playing. And now he plays on the best offense, at least the best passing attack in the league. And the best passing attack in the league has a serious amount of turnover coming into this season. It blows my mind that people won't be taking Julio. He's I get it. There's a scenario in which he is dust, but we only have 1 year of him not being great. It's not that he was complete garbage last year. He was just worse than he had been in previous years. But
let's say let's say a new best ball tournament opened up today, where would you want to take him?
Like wide receiver, mid 30s, late 30s. 35, like the split of wide receiver 3, 4. And even then, like I feel like I might be underrating just how good he is.
What is that, like the 7th round?
That's probably the 7th or 8th round, yeah.
You guys
I think I ranked him in. I just updated my.
Man, I thought I was gonna have the most. I thought I was gonna have the most favorable Julio take on here. You know that's my guy there. Like the past 2 seasons, man. I just kept telling folks, watch when he get healthy. Watch what he does. Watch it. And he do a little something, but the thing is, he don't play. So now if somebody says to me, well, he don't play in games, like I can't argue that. That's recent history. But what I can argue is, that when he does play, he still can ball. In what now, if he went to, any other team, we'd probably be doubting him a little. Like if he went to Dallas, we'd be like, but he went to Tom Brady in the Bucs, who Tom Brady threw the ball, averaged 42 passing attempts per game last year. So yeah, they got a lot of mouths to feed, but he'll work his way in there, and if healthy, man, it'll be the same type of scenario as when and new rapper Antonio Brown was out there, and now you got all these dudes who could go off and get 100 yards at any given time. So, I'm gonna take him in a redraft, 10th round, because I know that's where I could get him. Because most leagues will probably be like, nah, his hamstring will get hurt again. And hey, obviously it's a possibility, but I'm willing to take that shot on my guy playing with Tom Brady.
I think Julio makes a lot of sense for drafters, and best ball is one thing, but redraft, I think if you're spending early draft picks at running back and you're sort of fading the elite wide receivers and you're trying to pile up guys who could find a way to volume and have proven efficient are in great passing offenses like the Bucs, probably the best passing offense in the entire league, then Julio makes a ton of sense, like in the 9th or 10th round as a pickup there. I also think that in most leagues, you're going to see people's, bias against Julio because of the soft tissue injuries. I think that's going to show up pretty clearly, and he's going to drop to a point where he's going to look like a great value. I think in most leagues now, leagues with more experienced fantasy players, he might be more in the Kyle range, 8th, 9th, 7th, 8th round, something like that. I think you have a real decision there. That's a decision point. But below that point, I think he's a fantastic pick. He makes a lot of sense. In the games where he was healthy last year for the Titans, his peripherals look good. Like I think Kerrane actually pointed that out last year. Like and I looked into it before the show. I can confirm they look good. So I'm not excited about Julio.
Now, what you said about specific leagues, I will say this real quick. I am in a league with 10 other dudes from Atlanta.
Oh,
he will be going in the 3rd round.
Right.
Do you not think though that they will have experienced every single Julio Jones injury just digging into their soul when they go to draft him? Because if you're watching all the Atlanta games, you will certainly remember. And this is the one caveat I place that, like, yeah, dude, he's probably going to leave a game early after 5 snaps and give you a 0. Yeah. You remember those games because he always played through injuries for 5 snaps. Yeah. It was brutal. You don't think they would remember those games more so than the average fan?
Yeah, and they gonna do it, man. We love some Julio in Atlanta, man.
They're gonna go Julio in the 3rd, Matt Ryan in the 4th, and log out.
Yeah, that hey, auto drafted.
That's right.
You good
money. Yeah, you got to know your league, so that's important. If we're looking at, let's go to the next guy here, Isaiah McKenzie. The Athletic's Joe Buscaglia reported that McKenzie has been a standout almost every single day. This comes on top of reports that McKenzie's really been running with the ones this entire offseason. Crowder has not yet been challenging him for the starting role. So it's a bit of a continuation narrative that we have here. But, Crowder's new to the team. Maybe this is sort of veteran deference or whatever. Lawrence, how do you see this playing out? Is Isaiah McKenzie, is this drumbeat that he's a full-time player legit?
Well, my opinion as far as as it stands today, it's like you say, man. He been with the team. He's been with the team already. Mostly a return guy that'll pop a few plays on the offense every here now and again. Um, I still think it's early. Jamison Crowder got to get in that offense, get his feet wet, get some chemistry with Josh Allen. You definitely need that. He had it with little old Cole Beasley out there, who was a reception. He was a reception monster, right? And now you get Jamison Crowder coming off a 60 catch, 700-yard season on the Jets. So just I say just give him a little time, let him get to the preseason games, and then figure it out. Because if Isaiah McKenzie is truly balling like that, then it's probably the best football he ever played. And if it is true, then it is encouraging for him if he could just hold off the dude that they just brought in, albeit they wasn't like James Crowder don't have no rich contract or nothing. But if he could hold him off, he probably playing the best football of his life.
I do like the to point out that, yeah, this is probably what you would expect. Maybe not to the extent, I do think this is a good indicator for McKenzie, but you would think the one who has played multiple seasons with Josh Allen would be the one of a competition between him and James Crowder to stick out on the very first day of practice, right? To me, this news is important, but you would want it to stick for days and weeks before we're like, oh, that's actually what's happening. Whereas yeah, I would think the guy who's been practicing with Allen for years is going to have an edge over the guy who's been practicing Allen for, if Allen's trying to put mini camp, that's when they want to practice together. So if this report keeps holding, I will become increasingly bullish that it's true. For now, I think it's almost the expectation. It's still good, but I wouldn't go crazy immediately saying, well, that's it. McKenzie is the wide receiver 3.
So I looked into McKenzie's games where he saw, maybe not a full snap share, full route share, but something close to it. And obviously there's the week 16 game against New England where he just goes ballistic, catches 11 of 12 targets, leads the team in both categories. I think he pushed for 200 yards, scored a touchdown. So tons of yards after the catch. That goes without saying. Great game. But he also had in 2018, he had a little run as the primary slot guy for Buffalo from week 14 to week 15. I know 2-week sample size, not ideal, but it's what we're working with. In those 2 games, McKenzie led the Bills in targets per route run and was second in yards per route run among Bills wideouts. So I think he's demonstrated the ability, when he gets a shot to do the slot thing. When he gets a shot, he has the ability to command targets. And I know that he has a lot of competition in Stefan Diggs and Gabriel Davis. But I can definitely see a scenario where Josh Allen supports, 3 fantasy viable receivers. I mean, Tom Brady did it just last year in Tampa for a little while. So I'm bullish. I'm bullish on McKenzie. I'm trying not to get too excited, but it is. I think it does make a lot of sense for him to take that role.
Well, I have a hard time seeing him not supporting 3 options.
He's at the very least, he had whoever that slot is going to be fine because Cole Beasley's coming off 112 targets.
Yeah,
and he supported Dawson Knox.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Anyone on this team can just go out and have a great touchdown season. And when you look at Cole Beasley, as we all know, Lawrence Jackson said, Lil Old Cole Beasley. That's what we all called him, Lil Old. Who on this team would replace that? Maybe it's Isaiah McKenzie, who, according to Pro Football Reference, his nickname is Lil Dirty. I'm not sure how people haven't made this connection yet, but it seems very obvious to me that Lil Dirty would replace Lil Old Cole Beasley.
That's right. Yeah, it's right there. I was doing my research and I found it today, and it's Lil Dirty. We have to adjust. We must adjust on that.
We must adjust. To Lawrence's point about the contract, Jamison Crowder, he signed a 1-year, $2 million deal. I will note that almost all of it was guaranteed, 1.87 of it guaranteed. So he's not going anywhere, but it's also not that much to be paying a guy who's a pretty solid 4th wide receiver. So I think it seems like they're giving McKenzie a legit chance to win this job. I'm kind of like, well, the interesting thing is I was just in a draft, took him in the 16th round. So you're not even having to pay this super high premium for him right now. I think buy the news at a slightly increased price from a couple weeks ago. If he gets up into the 14th, 13th, then maybe it gets tougher. All right. So another report here. This is a reverse of a previous narrative. We had the fat Lenny narrative. Now we have the fit Lenny narrative. He's down to 245. Todd Bowles said he could play right now if the season started, which is both bullish and seems like should be fairly obvious. Like, or shouldn't all the guys be ready to go? But
it's like backhanded compliment of bullishness.
Seems a little backhanded. He could play football if he needed to today. He said about a football.
I could write blurbs if I needed to today.
Yeah. So, how much are you buying this, Denny? The fit Lenny season, is he back to being a workhorse? He's going to get all the touches again?
Well, I guess, despite what I said on a Good Football Show a couple weeks ago, he was never in any trouble of really losing the job because he showed up maybe a little bit out of shape. I think it is a little concerning that the head coach has to say, like, if we were playing today that he could play. I would think that would go without saying, like you said, Kerrane, but perhaps not. He should be fine. I was looking into, Fournette's production from last year, some of his peripherals. There aren't many indicators that, Lenny is fading at all. One thing jumped out from last year, his breakaway percentage went from nearly 27% in 2020 to 19% in 2021. That was the second lowest breakaway rate of his NFL career. But we're not drafting him because he's Javonte Williams. I mean, he's a compiler, and most of his value comes from a pass catching standpoint. He ran a route, or his route participation rate was 87% last year. So that's what you're looking for. But if you're looking for any sort of sliver of hope for maybe another Tampa running back to emerge, I think there could be. I mean, look, the guy missed a bunch of games last year with a hamstring injury, doesn't show up in the greatest shape this year. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I was, when he came, like Lenny, just that type of dude. He probably been 260 every offseason he been in the league.
Yeah.
See, this where people get it kind of twisted. They go to his Wikipedia page and it say he only 228.
Adorable.
Yeah, isn't it just cute? That man was never 228 in the league. He was never 228. He ran at the combine at 240. So if he's 245 right now, then it's like, oh, okay, that's cool. And yeah, like you say, Denny, the breakaway numbers, dipped a little bit, but that's because he catching all them passes out the backfield, 69 receptions, baby. He get a little tired catching them passes out the backfield. So, but listen, I did write this in my Tampa Bay fantasy preview. I did say that while Lenny is definitely safe, he played too well last year not to be. But, Rachaad White is not a dude you want to give an opening to. Right. I mean, he already said it. He coming in. He coming to start. He ready to go. That is an every down back. So, yeah, it's Lenny's spot. Tom Brady trusts him. He's a veteran. Rachaad White, just the dude you don't want to give a little crease to because he could get in and change that whole thing. But for now, I'm all Lenny. Big Lenny, fit Lenny, fat Lenny. I'm with them all.
From a narrative perspective, Lawrence, you're right. But, Tom Brady, we always hear about this amazing connection that Brady and Fournette have. If you've ever seen, I was going to say met, but no one has met Tom Brady, unfortunately. If you've ever seen a quarterback who would quickly pull the plug on a running back with which he has a lot of connection, it's Tom Brady. Like, if someone else proves a better option, Tom Brady will be like, Fournette, I never heard of him. Sorry. The only guy I know is
the man signed with, as soon as he saw Tom Brady unretire, he's like, hey, Tampa, Lenny, like, hey, Tampa, let me, I'll take that 21 mil.
And that connection is going to be strong until it's not. That's
I love this.
Yeah. For sure.
All right, Kyle, where are you at if we get Rachaad White dipping a little bit? Would you rather have Leonard Fournette at 260 and Rachaad White in the 9th round, or Leonard Fournette at 245 and Rachaad White in the 11th? Because I think I'm Rachaad White in the 11th. I just want cheap Rachaad White.
100%. Like Lauren said, like the 260 thing, like, dude, he was 100%. He was 260 every offseason, and he probably stepped on the scale and they were like, that says 272. And he's like, could you write down 260 for me? Like, it was a complete non-story the whole time. So I will just take cheap Rachaad White all day. And I think they're both good picks. And actually have kind of like warmed up to the idea of having like negatively correlated players that you are exposed to, not on the same team, but just really being into the backfield, right? It is a good situation. Leonard Fournette has been good with Tampa Bay, and Rachaad White was a perfect, like, he's the profile of the guy we want coming out of college. So, like, I really think I'm perfectly comfortable saying this is just a backfield I want to target. Not on the same team, probably, but across all of my teams, even if you're just playing in a few home leagues, I would like to leave with a lot of this backfield.
All right, we're going to get to some more training camp narratives, but before we do, I want to remind you that if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app powered by PointsBet, go download it now. The contests are free and easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands by predicting what will happen in Major League Baseball, on the PGA Tour, and NASCAR circuit. We also have special contests on Tuesday and Thursday called Battle of the Bets, where you can agree or disagree with our experts for a shot to collect some cash. You can also prep for your draft, the latest fantasy rankings, projections, and more in the NBC Sports Edge Fantasy Football Draft Guide. Plus, it's powered by RotoWorld, the premier source for player news and fantasy information. Take advantage of our preseason special and get the draft guide for $5 when you use the promo code DRAFTGUIDE at checkout on NBCSportsEdge.com/draft guide. All right, so the Athletic's Robert Mays reports that Rams coaches are, quote, in love with Allen Robinson. Not holding back there. Are you buying the narrative here, Lawrence, that Allen Robinson is in for a bounce-back season in a much better offense and a much better coach team in Los Angeles? You're muted. Lawrence, you're muted.
My bad.
And Denny did it, actually, is the one. That's what's surprising about it. Denny was the one muting him.
It depends on what we call breakout. What I expect him to do, what I know he should be able to do, is be able to provide that wide receiver 2 stability in the same way in which Odell Beckham did in his time there, and he'll get a full season to do it. I just think that the offense is too good for him not to thrive. Even Robert Woods last season started off kind of slow, right? But eventually he got going, and then unfortunately he was hurt, but he was starting to get going. So it's just the offense is going to be too good for him not to, be in the, close to touching. He could probably touch somewhere close to 1,000 yards. Tyler Higbee hasn't been big in the passing game recently. They've said that they'll get Cam Akers involved in the passing game, but Sean McVay's running backs have always been that way. Go back to obviously Todd Gurley. So in the end, based on the past few seasons that Allen Robinson has had, he's gonna have a breakout. Good offense, good quarterback, just a good system. So he'll be all right.
It wasn't that long ago, in fact, 2020, which some are saying was 2 years ago, that Allen Robinson saw 151 targets with Chicago. He was 6th among receivers in targets per route run. He was 5th among receivers with 23 red zone targets. He was 10th in targets inside the 10 across the whole league. The Rams, as far back as like April and May, were talking him up as a red zone threat. Now, I don't know like how viable that is with Cooper Kupp dominating. So, red zone action, including, inside the 10. But, with defenses probably laser focused on trying to stop Cooper Kupp, it's probably not bad for Allen Robinson to be in a really favorable position with a good quarterback in a good offense where the defense can't focus on him. And, he's like, it's not been that long since he was good. And last year was terrible. Last year was a wash, the team didn't seem all that interested in incorporating him into the offense for whatever reason. Maybe the relationship was a little bit frayed there. Also, he had COVID and he came back from COVID and weeks later was like, I lost a bunch of weight. I couldn't get out of bed for a while. Like, I couldn't believe that I was on the practice field when I was. I couldn't believe that they were playing me when they were. So all these things combined for pretty much a lost season. And that's unfortunate because, he's entering his age 29 season. He's not at the end of the road, but, it's not that far off for a receiver. But yeah, I think Allen Robinson is like essential for, teams that or fantasy managers that go heavy at running back early on and are looking for receivers in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round.
Yeah, to that point, like if you were just looking at projections and you were thinking, well, what happens if Allen Robinson if he's really like as bad as he was last year, but just on a new team, then like you also have to predict that the offense is just going to be pretty bad relative to where it was last year, right? Because if it's only Cooper Kupp that is really able to do much damage on this team, the offense starts looking a lot more grim. And I don't think that's going to happen. I would be shocked if, like Denny said last year, Allen Robinson, like the team, not only was it Allen Robinson, it was the entire team under Matt Nagy, didn't have any clear plan. They weren't using Justin Fields in any way that would be appropriate for his skill set. The same applied to Allen Robinson. It was just complete disconnect between the head coach and every single player he had on his team, essentially. And now he gets the exact opposite of that in LA. And at least an offense that everyone thinks is schemed as one of the best offenses can be in the NFL. So yeah, right now, I think that's a good way to put it. Like, he's probably not having the incredible breakout season. Cooper Kupp will probably limit him from finishing as like a top 5 receiver, right? Maybe you can make that argument for guys going in his range like Jerry Jeudy or Gabe Davis if you really want to be bullish on them. But given the hype of the offense, it'd be hard to see him not at least modestly paying off his ADP.
So, a couple questions on this team. Do you guys expect that they will bring back Odell Beckham? And how big of an impact would Odell Beckham have if he's re-signed on Allen Robinson?
They seem very interested. I mean, I think the GM has said, like, we have a spot for OBJ if he wants to come back to us. So it would seem that the team is open to that. I can kind of foresee a scenario where Allen Robinson establishes himself as such an important part of the passing offense in LA that, OBJ coming off that injury, another terrible knee injury. And it happened, in the Super Bowl. So it happened in February. We're talking maybe, I've heard November possibly as a return point for OBJ, but who knows if he'll be 100% at that point. So the prospect of OBJ sort of looming over everything for the Rams doesn't scare me too much with drafting Allen Robinson.
Yeah, it'd just be too late in the process, and we don't know for sure. Now we do see Chris Godwin, who had ACL surgery in January, he's looking pretty good, but that's a different person. You never really know. So yeah, it won't affect it for me.
It affects it for me a bit because Robinson is pretty expensive. We're in a couple high stakes drafts right now. He went 501 and 503. I mean, he also sometimes goes a bit higher than that. I don't think that's crazy or anything, but in most of these tournament type leagues, not just best ball tournaments, but managed league tournament style leagues, you have to do really, really well in weeks 15 through 17. So that's the concern for me, is if I'm paying 4th, 5th round price tag for a guy, and I'm not sure that he'll be, even in a good outcome, be that guy for me in the playoffs. It just makes me a little nervous because he went ahead of Chris Godwin, for example, who's like the reverse. Like, I can probably get through a couple bad Chris Godwin weeks, but Chris Godwin might be someone you absolutely need in the playoffs. So that's just kind of it's been hard for me to pull the trigger on Robinson, but Denny, you kind of made me nervous about some robust running back drafters then getting Allen Robinson and just beating my team pretty badly.
Yeah, I mean, he makes so much sense for that sort of draft construction, along with some other guys. I actually wrote a piece on it. It's on the site now, but man, yeah, like I if you're going that route, then I don't want to say you have to get A-Rob, but you probably should.
All right, so Denny, the Seahawks, we heard a very disappointing report. Michael Sean Dugar was on with me and Rotopat on Monday, and he covers the Seahawks for The Athletic. we asked him, what do you think is going to happen here on third downs?
Mm-hmm.
Can Rashad Penny be out there so that this can be a 2-man backfield? We can have some real fantasy value out of this. Maybe, Penny's not a pass catcher. Maybe he's a pass blocker. And he said, no, it's going to be Travis Homer, who he put up there as one of the best pass blockers in the entire league. And if it's not Travis Homer, it's going to be DJ Dallas out there on third downs, meaning if you're drafting Kenneth Walker or Rashad Penny, it's a 2-down split backfield on the Seahawks. That narrative sounds pretty bad, Denny. Are you buying it?
It's, Michael Sean Dugar is an excellent beat writer and seems to have his finger on the pulse, especially of the rushing offense in Seattle. Like he was right on a lot of things last year. So I struggle to get excited about either Walker or Penny if that's the case. And I believe that it could certainly happen. Travis Homer was the pass catching back for some of Russell Wilson's final couple years in Seattle and had some fantasy value because of it. I mean, not much, but fleeting. But that definitely kills, especially for Penny, just kills his appeal. And I don't want to say they're undraftable, but they just would look a lot uglier if Travis Homer's going to come in there and peel off 3, 4, 5 receptions.
Yeah, that's kind of my takeaway from this as well, is that like, oh well, at least my running back with a bad offensive line on a completely god-awful team can catch passes. Even that is off the table now. And I think it's off for both of them. Penny, not a particularly good pass catcher. He's a fine blocker, maybe. But Michael Sean Dugar was right. PFF had Travis Homer as the 14th best running back in pass blocking grade, and he was 7th in yards per route run. So he does all the third down things well. And Kenneth Walker was like pretty much a non-factor as a pass catcher, even in his final season when he absolutely blew up. 13 catches. So these guys don't profile as pass catchers. Maybe they're finest blockers, but you don't really need to get them out there when you have a guy as good as Homer at the things that he is asked to do. So yeah, I think this is like I get that the backfield is exciting talent-wise. Like Rashad Penny's finally doing the stuff we wanted him to do. Kenneth Walker is a really good between the tackles type of runner. He's not as well-rounded as we'd like, but he's good between the tackles. I don't really care. Like it's just such a bad team with such limited upside because of the way the committee's forming.
Man, both of y'all are nuts. No, I'm just playing.
You guys suck.
I ain't been drafting none of them boys anyway, so we could go and carry on. I'm pretty much going to say the same thing on that.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it makes too much sense for them to play a guy like Homer who does the thing that they want him to do well. And for us as fantasy players, we're like, yeah, we get that. But can you just go away anyway? Because we would love to be able to draft these more exciting rushers. But yeah, I think you can't be drafting the more expensive one of these guys. I have taken some Walker because he's fallen so much, but even I've actually cooled off a little bit on that because I gotta get Rachaad White. I can't be not drafting Rachaad White. All right, let's talk a rookie here, Wan'Dale Robinson, getting some buzz in a couple different ways. He's getting buzz as a starter in 3 wide receiver sets. He's getting buzz playing out of the backfield with Saquon Barkley in the slot. That sounds maybe like a training camp narrative, but where are you at on that, Kyle?
Yeah, he's so cheap right now, and that won't last, but he's never going to get particularly expensive. He's the 3rd receiver on the Giants. But the Giants as an offense, I already wanted to target because they're going from truly abysmal coaching to the coaching brain trust that we saw propel Josh Allen to incredible seasons. And they did it, one, through Josh Allen's awesome talent, and Daniel Jones is not going to be that because almost no player is as talented as Josh Allen. But Daniel Jones could approach league average play on an offense that is one of the 5 or so best schemed offenses, and it's schemed great for fantasy production. Like, as much as I think Kyle Shanahan calls a great offense, I'm not dying to get his quarterback if he doesn't run a ton. I'm not dying to get the pocket passer because they run so much. That's not true of the Giants. At least that wasn't true of the Bills that we now think will be the Giants, essentially. They will be one of the highest pass rate teams in the NFL as well, one of the best pass rate over expectation teams. So if there's enough volume on the table for a 3rd receiver to pop up every now and then, that's good. And if it's Wan'Dale Robinson, who just has an elite dominator level profile coming out of college, and we saw him do it in so many ways, both as a running back and then transferring to Kentucky and doing it as a receiver. His talent's great. The situation relative to his price, which is nothing, is really good. I'm going to keep drafting Wan'Dale because Pat, you convinced me pretty quickly that he was just a good enough prospect that you want to take shots on a guy like him. And now I'm pretty much completely sold on that.
I'm trying not to get too excited. I think what this means, because I'm we're reading about Wan'Dale Robinson doing all this stuff, and Robinson has a great profile, Kerrane, as you pointed out. He accounted for 45% of Kentucky's receiving yards in his final collegiate season. It's outrageous.
Seems good.
That's so many yards. He wasn't playing at an FCS school. That is an SEC school. There should be other good players on that team, and there probably were. But Wan'Dale's just like that much better, man. He's
off the charts on the dog meter, and with him, Sterling Shepard, Kadarius Toney, what's his name, Kenny Galladay, if he's still viable as a player. I think the takeaway might be that Daniel Jones has a lot of great weapons, and we might be, at least I might be, in on Daniel Jones as a guy who takes advantage of having all these really underrated pass catchers all around, and weapons, and a coaching staff willing to use those weapons, and also wanting to score points, which he hasn't had in the last couple of years. So I do think that the Wan'Dale stuff makes me more bullish on Daniel Jones than maybe it does on Wan'Dale Robinson himself.
I hate to tell you this, Denny, but you did get too excited. You've touted Daniel Jones. That's how we know.
Once you said Daniel Jones, then I was like, hold on now.
Oh, wait! Now the season is underway. I'm touting bad players. We are in full preseason mode.
They said Kadarius Toney were lining up in the backfield too. They both of them have some similarities, but because of if the quarterback was Josh Allen or Tom Brady or something, we'd be loving like 4 or 5 players on this offense. But because of who the quarterback is, from what we've seen so far, not who knows, he could get better. He could start making better decisions.
Are you also touting Daniel Jones?
Hell nah. I'm just saying. I'm just trying not to.
No. I think if we rewind the clip, it sounds.
You were touting Daniel Jones, Lawrence.
I'll just say that, if he do better. But it like I said, if there was a different quarterback with these weapons, but we be talking about Saquon, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kadarius Toney, even Kenny Galladay when he play football. Like, we'll be talking about him too, but that's not their quarterback.
You have to give a little bit of a pass to Daniel Jones from the Jason Garrett, Joe Judge era. That nobody was going to succeed in that atmosphere, in that environment. I think it's amazing that Daniel Jones is still like a starting an unquestioned starting quarterback in the league after that disaster of a 2-year run.
Are you telling me you surprised that the push-ups in practice didn't work?
I'm a little shocked that treating
Giants fans was loving that. They was like, oh, he's tough. He's tough. Yeah, tough to score touchdowns with.
And we know professional athletes love to be treated like middle schoolers. That's the one thing that we know for sure. But Daniel Jones was kind of fun for fantasy before the Judge apocalypse in New York.
He definitely could run.
He runs. He runs. Forget the tripping thing in the open field.
Yeah,
forget all that. He runs. He's not the greatest at like reading defenses, but for fantasy he can be fun.
Yeah. He ain't got no moves either.
This is a tout roast. Forget all that. The horrible thing he did. Forget that he also does this other horrible thing. But you got to take him.
You got to hand it to him. Is what I'm saying.
You got to hand off the ball.
Oh well, that too.
All right, we got 3 more narratives to get to before we do that. Taking a quick break. The Fantasy Football Expo presented by NBC Sports Edge is coming to Canton, Ohio, August 12th through 14th. Join some of the top experts in the country, including our own Pat Daugherty, Denny Carter, Lawrence Jackson, Kyle Dvorchak. I will also be there at the only true Fantasy Football Expo in the country. Tickets are available at thefantasyfootballexpo.com. Use promo code NBCPass at checkout to save $20. Denny, speaking of the Expo, got to meet you in person at last year's Expo, which is one of the best parts about the whole enterprise. So we actually get to hang out in person for once. And I learned that you dabble in CFL DFS. So with that in mind, using your CFL expertise, do you expect that you'll be putting Christian Watson in your lineup soon?
Coming to a CFL lineup near you, the Packers' first round pick.
That's a good one. I've actually I've relinquished my CFL thought leading crown. I no longer lead thoughts in that area. I'm a golf tout for now. Shifting
Strictly
back to
golf,
NFL.
Baseball, NBA Showdown, USFL, just the big ones.
Yes. So Christian Watson. I mean, this is terrible. This is a terrible start for this kid. You feel
we should say he had knee surgery.
Yes.
And so now he's going to miss an extensive period of training camp on the PUP list. So that is why I'm pretending he's going to be in the CFL soon. Right. And we have not heard any reports to that effect. I just want to be clear. Kerrane spreading misinformation once again. But Watson, I mean, first of all, Packers rookie receivers have always had a tough time gaining Aaron Rodgers' favor, including guys like James Jones, Devontae Adams, Jordy Nelson. I mean, the list of, let me check here, legendary Green Bay receivers includes guys Aaron Rodgers completely iced out as a rookie. So I feel like the start to Watson's camp is pretty much a nightmare for him and anyone who believes that, he could emerge as the wide receiver one in that offense.
Aaron Rodgers don't even know who he is yet.
Right.
He got to earn the stripes. He don't know that, man. Yet. He didn't know Devontae Adams till year 3.
Does this mean like I have to start taking Allen Lazard? Because I'm close to 0 Allen Lazard teams. I have a few falls below ADP, and I get the argument that he's Aaron Rodgers' top receiver, and that is becoming more apparent by the day without Christian Watson. But like, do I really have to? Because he is poor in yards per route run, has never had a meaningful target share. And it's not like there have not been opportunities. Devontae Adams takes a lot of targets. He doesn't take 90% of the offense. His team was dying for a number 2, and it had to be like one trick pony, Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and basically just the running backs at some point. They just had to give up on their wide receiver 2 being a consistent contributor. And when they did contribute, it was MVS. It wasn't even Allen Lazard as much. So I really don't want to be drafting Allen Lazard, especially because some few weeks ago argued with Denny about me not wanting to take Allen Lazard. And as the days creep on, I regret to inform the audience that Denny is looking more right.
I'm going to get close to the mic here. It doesn't matter that Allen Lazard is bad.
It grinds my gears, you saying that.
Yeah, no, I mean, I know.
Why doesn't it matter? Why?
Because Aaron Rodgers just called him a Hall of Famer. That's right.
If Aaron Rodgers is in, I'm in. That's it. Like it's all it is to it. Like it doesn't matter that his peripherals, everything they're disgusting. It doesn't matter that he basically was like a backup tight end for some of his time in Green Bay. None of it matters. He's the wide receiver 1.
Keep going.
Aaron Rodgers' eyes.
It doesn't matter that then you roast the guy and then you tout him. It's like my new favorite. I've never seen a better way of promoting players that should be drafted. It doesn't matter that he's a backup tight end.
Yeah.
He's going pretty high. He's in the 7th round of underdog best ball drafts. He's going ahead of Michael Thomas, who, is now we don't have this as a narrative, but he's out there practicing. He's going ahead of Christian Kirk. He's going ahead of Kadarius Toney. You're paying for him like he's the number 1 wide receiver with some uncertainty around that. Like it does seem pretty priced in. So it's not like there's a discount to that. Like that you're going to need that to come through. Lawrence, are you comfortable with that?
Nah, not with the other guys in that range. But then it's like how do you deny a receiver that Aaron Rodgers throwing to? Like that's extremely hard to do. Like people will say, oh, well, he ain't got Devontae Adams no more. Well, people said, oh, he ain't got Jordy Nelson no more. Then before that, maybe he didn't play with Donald Driver. Oh, it was Greg Jennings. That was who was before.
He turned James Jones into something. I mean,
James Jones led the league in receiving touchdowns one year, 2014, I believe, with 14. So it's like, man,
he might be better than James Jones. Denny, do you think he's the worst of all of us? Do you think he's better than James Jones, Allen Lazard?
Me?
Yeah.
Terrible. He's terrible, and it's great.
I mean, I'm sorry, not Jane Jones. Alan Lazard, he's had some days here and there. With he show up some days out there.
He's had some days, is our argument.
Out there.
Given that we are all so pessimistic on the relative level of talent of Alan Lazard, I'm not saying he is bad. I'm saying he's probably best fit as a team's wide receiver 3, which is what we've seen from him. But given that there's a lot of, given our assessment of his talent, there should be a lot of uncertainty. Is anyone doing like the Romeo Doubs thing? Already started off with some highlight plays in training camp. Yeah, Randall Cobb, we're talking about guys Aaron Rodgers likes. Boy, he likes Randall Cobb. So to me, I'm going to start taking more Doubs. I wasn't getting as much of him as I probably should have been. Or Sammy Watkins too. Sammy Watkins opened up. I think it was technically the NFI list. I don't remember if it was NFI.
We can't just disrespect.
Sammy Watkins is too bad.
Sammy Watkins.
Where's the line? Alan Lazard is so bad it's good.
Look, he's bad, and I've never heard Aaron Rodgers say his name. So
okay, that's why.
That's the key. No. But there's something to what Kyle is saying.
Yes,
Randall Cobb, he's a boring boomer pick. I get it. Like, you get your social security card if you pick Randall Cobb in redraft, but it could be okay. Like PPR wise, it could be okay. Doubs is interesting. I think he's very interesting as a guy who could emerge. Now, if Aaron Rodgers continues with the Lazard stuff, I don't know. But Doubs does interest me as like a late round dart throw.
I'm into the Cobb thing. Like, I'm not drafting him a ton, but you can definitely talk me into it because he's not probably even getting drafted in a bunch of these leagues. ADP of wide receiver 94. Like, that's a dart. That's if I'm betting on Aaron Rodgers likes this bad wide receiver, that price at least is more appealing.
You know how many 1-yard touchdowns he gonna catch this year? Back like he did back in the day.
Right. And Cobb was just coming into his own in the offense, in that return to the offense when he suffered a core injury against the Rams. He was I don't want to say dominating, but he was doing quite well for that game and the game previous. And I could see it happening. And as an older millennial, I love it.
Yeah, get the early Social Security. It's a win-win. All right, let's move to another player that I think at least most of us are going to feel a little gross about drafting, but maybe not all of us. Mike McCarthy described Ezekiel Elliott as a keystone player. Lawrence, are you buying this? Is he the key to the Dallas season?
Let me tell y'all something right now.
Saddle up, folks.
Keystone, well, he's been that. I don't know if that's what you call it going forward. However, he's not. He ain't going nowhere. That man is not going nowhere. We could talk about it from a football perspective, from a fantasy football perspective. He's going to give you at least what he gave you last season, which was on a points per game basis, hovering around running back 14, 15. And why wouldn't we want that? The main thing we complain about for running backs, right? They always hurt. All of them always hurt. In 6 seasons, this man has missed 3 games due to injury. 3 at the running back position. He was hurt last season. He a little hurt. That's cool. We'll play. We'll fall into the end zone like that. Now you got Tony Pollard, right? Much more efficient, more explosive than Ezekiel Elliott. 2 different types of backs. Now, I think Kyle mentioned it earlier. He getting some love in that slot. He getting some receiver love. He was actually a receiver in college for multiple years, strictly played the wide receiver position. And as we know, they lost the wide receiver in Amari Cooper. They haven't got one back yet in Michael Gallup. They may be dependent on a rookie receiver in Jalen Tolbert. So they're looking for somebody to help fill that void, and that could be Tony Pollard. So if you have these 2 on the field at the same time, that means Zeke is still on that field. He's still getting them carries, and he's definitely still getting that goal line work, which pretty much that's his, at this point, that's his biggest value. But that's not all of it. He had 47 catches last year, 52 the year before. So in the 4th round, right? I'm not saying pick him in the. We know he's not the 1st round back he used to be. He ain't the 2nd round back that he was drafted as the past couple years. But now in the 4th round, if I know I could get running back 15 production, which he's given us on 2 bad years, right? Even if he keeps that as low end RB2, it's still a solid pick in the 4th round. I'll let you have it.
I don't hate him relative to the running backs he goes near. So that's what I will say to support this argument, is that he goes over Breece Hall. I'm not sure what kind of pass catching role we'll see from Breece Hall. I know that offense can't, even if it gets better, is probably not going to be great. Cam Akers, I think the offense is probably better, but Akers was like somehow probably less efficient than Zeke last year when Cam Akers came back. Then David Montgomery and some other guys, take Zeke over them. The problem to me is not his ranking within the running backs, though. It's the receivers that go after him. I would windmill dunk these picks before I would take Ezekiel Elliott. Deontay Johnson, a target manufacturing hawk. Gabriel Davis, the number 2 for Josh Allen, who was incredibly explosive at the end of last year. You may have heard he had like 200 yards and 4 touchdowns. I may be the only one reporting this, but it's also a lot. So, no one and the list goes on. Allen Robinson, that's the next one. Jerry Jeudy, I would take all of these receivers over him because I don't see a scenario in which Zeke gives you a season that you have to win. I think he's a fine, like median value type of pick, but like, that's not what I'm going for. Give me these upside receivers.
That makes sense. I was about to do that thing where I hedge and I'm like, I can take him in the 4th. Sure.
How do you get your voice that squeaky? That is a talent that I would love to master.
Hey, I can actually do Pikachu now that I've watched it with my kids. I've watched Pokemon with my kids, and I will not do Pikachu on the podcast. I have some self-respect, but I think Zeke in the 4th is fine-ish. But I'm not like excited to do it. Mostly, I'm just depressed about Tony Pollard. He's never going to be free, guys. It's doom and gloom for Tony Pollard, and you can take him and you can cite all the stats you want, like I do. But Cowboys don't see it, and that's the problem.
I think the way to hedge with Zeke is mix him in best ball, because if you do get the type of season Lawrence is talking about, like a slightly better version of what we've seen over the last couple of years, maybe Pollard's involved enough to make it like a sub-elite season. That's pretty valuable in the 4th round in best ball. Like, that'll really help you out. And it might even help you out, in the playoff weeks, not just kind of in the regular season. So I think getting him there makes sense. And I want to be in on Tony Pollard, Denny, and I'm drafting him some, but like, he's so expensive. Going in like the 7th round of high stakes drafts right now, it's not like you're getting any kind of discount. I think the narrative around him playing out of the slot isn't helping if you want to draft Tony Pollard, because it's probably not real and it's not helping his price go down. Talk Zeke up. I'll mix him into the 4th round, and then please let's get the drumbeat going for Zeke. Get him into the 2nd round here so we can get some cheap Tony Pollard.
I mean, mostly let's get Pollard into the 10th round, for the love of God, please.
Yeah. That's where we need him. All right, so last one here today. Saints head coach Dennis Allen. Of course, we got to close with this, as you should close your drafts. Dennis Allen said that Taysom Hill is, quote, going to provide multiple roles for us, quarterback, and still take some snaps from the quarterback position. Is he a fantasy football cheat code as a quarterback with tight end eligibility, Kyle?
I mean, yeah, I've been pretty Taysom pilled, and I think the thing that pushes it over the edge in formats, I know Underdog is this way, but there are also some other fantasy sites like Scott Fishbowl. I have Taysom Hill as a tight end in the back end of my roster, and it does help that is also a tournament style structure. It's not nearly the same as like the Underdog progression towards the playoffs, but it is having a more than just can beat your 12 or 11, league mates type of team does matter in that format still. And anywhere where he is tight end eligible, I think I'll be at least interested in him. I mean, if I have a really good tight end room or something, or I just don't want to spend the roster position, I know no one else is going to draft him anyways, I can just try and pick him up earlier than my opponents. Sure, maybe I'm not taking him there. There are certainly reasons not to take him, but like we know, he's giving you QB1 value if he gets starts at quarterback. And there's definitely an outside chance that he is giving you like not great tight end 2 production, but like a lot of dudes give you not great tight end 2 production that are going to be drafted anyways. But he could go out there and have like a rushing touchdown and 6 receiving touchdowns in a season if they plan to use him as a like the true hybrid, which they did 3 years ago now, 2019. That's exactly what he had. 6 receiving and 1 rushing, I believe, is what he got to, while never starting at quarterback, right? So if he somehow turns in a really good efficiency season as a tight end, you could get usable weeks from him. They won't be great, but they will be usable. And then the tail outcome is that he breaks fantasy football. If you can start a quarterback 1 at your tight end, or if you have a super good tight end and you play him at flex, you're the only team that can play super flex while everyone else has to play standard, non-super flex. So in large fields, I will probably just be taking him when I can. And in just your standard home league, if you play on a site that allows you to take him as a tight end, he's like, I will be refreshing Saints news constantly, just on the off chance that, if you don't have him, you lose. Like, that's what happens if you don't have Taysom Hill and he starts at quarterback.
Yeah, he ain't ever starting at quarterback again. But think
about all the game theory I just talked about.
They have seen Pete Carmichael has seen enough. Now, but the quarterback snaps definitely. I mean, they got Andy Dalton right now as the backup, so they wanted to make sure that they got that backup quarterback position solidified. Now, the thing about him at tight end, like you say, Kyle, and I'll say this: if he's somewhere around that 8-ish touches range, that's a little interesting.
Well, yeah.
That's a little interesting because how many tight ends are getting 8 targets or 8 catches? There ain't a lot of them.
No.
So if they're gonna, steal touchdowns away from Kamara or whoever back there, if they're gonna still keep doing that, then that's a little interesting. It could be volatile too at the same time. But if he's a designated tight end, it makes it better. See, back in the day, sometimes he used to be a quarterback, so nobody ever messed with him in fantasy. But if he gonna catch a pass here and there, come in for like a short yardage touchdown, it could be good and bad, but it'll mostly just drive you crazy because it'll be some good days, and then it'll be some days where Taysom just playing punt team today. And then you won't get anything. You don't get no points for being the punt team guy. So, yeah.
You're playing in the wrong leagues, Lawrence. You gotta play
be the gunner. But but like Kyle say, it could be here or it could be here. It's really crazy, but mostly it'll probably just drive you nuts.
Where he's going in drafts, for me, it's like, why not? I mean, like, what am I going to do? Take a tight end who like might run some routes if their team runs into a bunch of injuries and get lucky with a touchdown once in a while, where I might be able to get this, this guy in Taysom Hill who could get goal line touches or touches inside the 10, which is extremely valuable. I for a long time I was sort of down about the radicalization of the youth in fantasy football being Taysom pilled. But I too have been Taysom pilled, so I can no longer speak. And for best ball,
the trend is sweeping the nation.
It is, and for anybody who's going to complain about what Kyle was talking about, well, you shouldn't be able to plug a quarterback into tight end. It's part of our game. Like, this is part of the game. It's a fun game about another game. And that's okay. And we should have fun with that. Go with that. And so if you can get a guy like Taysom Hill late in the draft, you do it.
Keyword fantasy.
Yes. We're not actual NFL general managers. I don't know if the folks realize that.
It's a bummer, but it's true. Taysom Hill today, I got in the 17th round of a best ball draft. And I agree with you, Lawrence, that it's going to drive you nuts if you got to predict the weeks. Nice about best balls, you don't got to. So, and if one of those weeks is one of the playoff weeks, oh man. And okay, I could have gotten him in the 18th round. I wasn't actually fully Taysom pilled. I was Taysom curious. I didn't. I just mixed him in a little. So now, okay, I'm like, all right, I didn't have much 18th round Taysom, but I can get 17th round Taysom after some bullish reports. That seems great. So I feel like, he'll probably move up pretty quickly. But if you're drafting in the next few days in these best ball drafts, I definitely would try to mix him in if you were like me and only have a few shares from earlier. Do you have a big old bag, Kyle?
I don't draft a ton on underdog, so I don't have a big dollar-wise bag, but on my underdog teams, I'm well over the field on Taysom Hill. It's not a ton of drafts though. So like if he, if somehow this punt gunner doesn't score a bunch of fantasy points, I'll survive. You guys can rest assured I'll be back on the pod.
I'm glad to hear that. All right. What do we got going on in the site, guys, here as we wrap it up?
I took no pleasure in writing it, but I did anyway. If I were to draft a robust RB team, meaning I use the first 2-3 picks on a running back, this is how I would do it. Sort of article. These are the wide receivers I would target in the middle rounds, and then in the later rounds. I talked about a lot of the receivers we discussed on the pod today. So check it out. It's on NBCSportsEdge.com.
Denny, what if I told you could take wide receivers early and then just take those wide receivers you liked anyways? You could do that.
Well, I would tell you
come up with a strategy around that.
I would tell you I love the receivers. I don't know about the running back.
Yeah, I have one training camp battle for every team, things to watch for. And we've already gotten some of that type of news in the first few days of camp, and it's some players we talked about here. So go ahead and read that. And I did a best ball, not even a mock draft, did a real best ball draft with a few of us NBC edgers. And we should have read your article about going robust RB because like 2 or 3 of us did it. I think we drafted really bad teams. Like I think these are like very minus EV teams, but I get to negatively review.
Was that
myself.
the draft with Ray and Pat as well?
Correct. Yes, that's the one.
I believe Overzet jumped in there and took all the wide receivers.
He did, and his team is good. It's one of the teams I reviewed as doing well, and I reviewed Zach Kruger's team of NBC Sports Edge as doing well because again, it took a lot of wide receivers and didn't fall into these dumb middle round value trap running back. So that is through our draft guide, which you should have. It will help you win your fantasy league or at least do marginally better because it's still a very random sport. I can't guarantee it, but I'd like to think it helps. So you can read that as well.
Yes, sir. Definitely get the draft guide, which these fine gentlemen provided hard work for. Going into August, I have ADP movers, stock rising and falling. So, be on the lookout for that. And just me acting a fool on these little silly videos that NBC let me do.
I would recommend you obviously listen to a good football show, but make sure to look for the Monday podcast. We're going to have the AFC West preview, which is obviously going to be exciting given how exciting that division is. I'm working on a best ball article, which will probably be out next week. I'm hoping to get the first part out. Might be the week after, but be on the lookout for that. And also, there's a video coming out on our new NFL on NBC YouTube channel. I got a chance to compare my top 5 at quarterback, running back, and wide receiver with Chris Sims' real-life reality top 5 and get some of his thoughts on kind of the fantasy versus reality aspects there. So that should be out in the next day or so. Look for that, and we'll be back soon. Thanks, everyone, for listening. See you later.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.